Alright, what the fuck is up, everyone? Prison Meddler here. I'm back with another reviewing every album, rating every album. And no, it's not rap this time. It's back to rock and metal, and this time I'm doing Korn. So, yeah. Now, before I begin, as you may know, the rating is 0 out of 5 being the worst and 5 out of 5 being the best. I'm not including EPs, demos, compilations, or any else, just the studio albums only. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and begin. Alrighty, now start up we got is their self-titled debut. Came out October 11th, 1994. With 4 singles released. Blind, released August 1st. Need To, released August 8th, 1995. Chutes and Ladders, released June 30th, 1995. And Clown, released July 12th, 1995. Now, as you may know with this album, this is the first album to pretty much started the nu metal genre, as you may know. This is pretty much the album that pretty much started the whole thing. So, as you may know, starting with the first nu metal song, which is Blind, which is of course Blind, which is the opening track, and then it goes on from here. And yeah, this is pretty much considered to be one of Korn's greatest albums, as you may know. Definitely a really great track. Definitely a very original album. Probably their most original album they've ever made. He's very able to paint very disturbing images for songs such as Daddy, and has a really creepy tone and plenty songs such as the creepy bagpipes he performed at the beginning of Chutes and Ladders. And yeah, definitely a really great album. I don't really know what else to say about this album. Definitely one of the best metal albums of 1994. I mean, as all me know, yeah, this is definitely a nu metal classic. Couldn't argue it being one of the best nu metal albums of all time, as you can say. So, yeah, I'm feeling this album a 4 out of 5. This is definitely a great album. I don't really know what else to say here, to tell you the truth. This is pretty much that started the entire nu metal genre and influenced other bands such as Limp Bizkit, Slipknot, Linkin Park, Disturbed, etc. Alright, next up we got is Life is Peachy, released October 15th, 1996, with only 3 singles. No Place to Hide, released September 14th. All Day I Dream About Sex, released March 4th, 1997. And Good God, released November 7th, 1997. So, as you may know, this album pretty much continued off after their first album. And yes, this album is a lot shorter than their previous album. I mean, it starts off with the weird sound called Twist, which is a 50-second track. And then we got Kai. I suppose this is supposed to be I heard many people said that this was a reference to Kai Ching, from the bass from Deftones. Who later... Well, I already mentioned all of this about Deftones. And then... yeah, it's kind of more like a filler version of their first album, but kind of in a good way. I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that. So, yeah, it has a lot of creepier tone to it. Songs like Swallow, Porno Creep, which is more of an instrumental track. Mr. Rogers is Good God is a really solid song. And then we got Cunts, which is censored, with punctuations. And then we got No Place to Hide, which is a pretty underrated track. Then we got Wicked, which is an Ice Cube cover, which features Chino from Deftones. Then Adidas, which is All Day I Dream About Sex, which is definitely the most popular song on the album. Then we got another cover song called Lowrider. And then Ass Itch, which is a song about writer's block, and then Kill You, which is, I thought this was one of the best tracks on the album. So, yeah, other than that, I definitely think this is a pretty strong album. Is it Korn's best album? No, it's a step down from their debut album, but this doesn't mean it's bad or anything. I just think this is a very solid album and somewhat good on most parts. So I'm feeling this album a strong 3 out of 5, leaning towards 3.5. So yeah, I definitely think this is a very solid album. Alright, next up we got is Follow the Leader, released August 18th, 1998. 3 singles, All in the Family, released July 18th. Got the Life, released November 23rd. And Freak on the Leash, released February 25th, 1999. As let me know, we came to the point where I honestly think this is Korn's best album. As let me know, this has a massive change from their first 2 albums. It's a different producer. As let me know, the first 2 albums were produced by Ross Robinson, who is known for producing Limp Bizkit's $30 Bills, Y'all, and Slipknot's first 2 albums. But besides that, yeah, this is definitely a new metal classic album from start to finish. Yeah, I know some people may bash the songs like All in the Family, but it's kind of funny. I kind of find the feud between Jonathan Davis and Fred Durst from Limp Bizkit. And then, as you may know, it's a very solid album. Amazing album from start to finish. It's a lot heavier. It's better produced. Everything. And great songwriting. And it's very creative, too, throughout the entire album. So, It's On, which starts off. That's how the album starts off. I know in some releases it has 25 tracks starts with 12 silent tracks for like 5 seconds length. I'm not going to talk about that. I don't know why. But other than that, it's just an amazing album. Freak on a Leash, which is definitely their most popular song. No debate here. Then we got the Life, another great track. Dead Bodies Everywhere is such an amazing fucking track. And then we got Children of the Corn, which features Ice Cube. BBK is great. Pretty is underrated. The lyrics are disturbing as fuck, to be honest with you. I definitely think this is a really amazing album from start to finish. The riffs are great. It definitely fits well with the production of the album. And then we got the last track, My Gift to You, which has this doomy metal sounding track. Well, I'm ignoring the hidden track, which is a Cheech and Chong cover. But yeah, I just enjoy the riffs. I just think this is a really, really great album. So, yeah. I'm feeling a strong... I'm feeling a 4.5 out of 5 on this album. 4.5, leaning towards a 4 out of 5. So, yeah. A really, really amazing album from start to finish. Alright, next up we got is Issues, released November 16th, 1999, with only 2 singles. Falling Away From Me, released December 6th, and Make Me Bad, released February 2000. Another great album. Definitely one of their best albums, as all me know. Now, it's came out like over a year after Follow the Leader, and this album still holds up great. I noticed that this is the first album with Jonathan Davis being sober, and I'm just going to make this shorter because there was actually 14 albums by them. So, yeah. It definitely did work with this album. Tons of great songs. There's only 16 with some interludes. Falling Away From Me, which is a classic Korn song. Trash is pretty underrated. Bad For Me, Make Me Bad. Yeah. Really great album. I don't know what else to say. So, Yeah, I'm just gonna make this short, and I'm gonna give this a 4 out of 5 on this album. I definitely think this is a really great album. I don't know if this was like a concept album or whatever, but other than that, I definitely think this is a really, really great album. Alrighty, next up we got is Untouchables, released June 11th, 2002, with 3 singles. Here to Stay, released June 11th. Thoughtless, released July 15th. And Alone I Break, released November 11th. Now, my thoughts on this album, a lot of people said this is their second best album. Honestly, I'm going to tell you the truth. I kind of find this album overrated, to tell you the truth. Because I know this album is one of the most expensive albums to make, but as let me know, I don't know. We're kind of separating that from the makings on this album. I mean, I do think this is a very somewhat solid album from start to finish. I mean, I strongly disagree that this is their best album. I kind of find this album overrated. It's not extremely overrated or anything, just somewhat overrated. I mean, there's a lot of great songs, such as Here to Stay, Make Believe, Blame. Hollow Life is actually a great song. Bottle Life is alright. Thoughtless is actually a great song. Fun fact, that guy, who's that guy who played Jesse from Breaking Bad? Oh yeah, Aaron Paul. Yeah, it's the same guy who was Jesse Pinkman from Breaking Bad. He's in the music video. But yeah, other than that, besides all that, then we got the ballad track Alone I Break, which is such an amazing song. I do enjoy that one, so yeah, I definitely think this is a pretty good album. Sorry if I'm not going to further details. I'm trying to not to make this too long, so yeah, I definitely disagree that this is their greatest album ever. I think this is overrated, but is it good? Yes. It's just I think it's overrated. That's all. I'm feeling this at 3.5 out of 5 for me. I definitely think this is a good album, but I don't love it or anything. I just think the album is overrated. That's all. But this doesn't mean it's bad. Alrighty, next up we got is Take a Look in the Mirror, released November 21st, 2003, with 4 singles. Did My Time, released July 22nd. Right Now, released October 2nd. Y'all Want a Single, released March 9, 2004. And Everything I've Known, released April 13, 2004. Now, this album is pretty much of a step down with this album. I mean, as let me know, the production is very raw. It's the last album with the original lineup. As let me know, Brian Head Welch left the band in 2005 and came back in 2013. And yeah, this is pretty much the last album with the original lineup. And as let me know, band members said that this is Korn's worst album. Maybe the worst album at the classic era, but not the worst album overall. I did at one point say that this is better than Untouchables, but I kind of take that back nowadays, because there's plenty of moments where I just don't like about this album. The album starts off, as let me know, with Right Now, which I definitely think Right Now is a really great track. Breaks Them Off is good. Counting on Me is great. Here It Comes Again is good. Deep Inside is filler. Did My Time is kind of different than their first 5 songs, but it's still great. Everything I Know is decent. I did not like the song Play Me with Nas. Nas is a great rapper, but he does not fit in with this song at all. I honestly don't know why he's in that track. And then the rest is okay. So, yeah. As let me know, yeah, this is a massive step down, but it has some great moments, and it has some not so good moments. Yeah, it's a very raw album, and yeah, I don't know what else to say about it. I'm feeling a 2.5 out of 5 on this album. It sounds very rushed, and yeah, it just sounds overly aggressive, and that's pretty much all I have to say here. Alrighty, next up we got is See You on the Other Side, released December 6, 2005, with three singles. Twisted Transistor, released September 27th. Coming Undone, released February 21st, 2006. And Politics, released August 29, 2006. Now, this album, pretty much an improvement over Take a Look in the Mirror. And I kind of like this industrial sound throughout this album. As let me know, this is the first album without Brian Head Welch, and the last album with drummer David Silveria. After he left the band Silveria, I can't pronounce his last name, but yeah, this is the first album as a quartet, and yeah, I could say this is Korn's most underrated album, in my opinion. I don't understand many people hate this album. I guess they don't like this industrial sound to it, or whatever. It's produced by Atticus Ross, who is from Nine Inch Nails. As let me know, starts off with Twisted Transistor, which is a really great song. Politics is decent. Hypocrite, Souvenir, Tenor or Two Ways. Throw Me Away kind of sort of went off a bit, I'll admit. And then it kind of has this, I guess they don't like it because it has this, I don't know. Like I said, it's pretty much the industrial sound to it. But overall, I definitely think this is a pretty decent album on the most part. It's from decent to good. I mean, I do like the song Open Up. I definitely do enjoy Open Up. Coming Undone is a fucking awesome song. I do like that one. Getting Off is kind of filler, to be honest with you. Anything from Getting Off to For No One, I find these three tracks filler, to tell you the truth. Seen It All was a great song, and then we got an unnecessary track called Tearjerker. I feel like Seen It All should have been like the final song on the album, but other than that, yeah, I definitely think this is a pretty decent album overall, so I'm feeling a 3 out of 5 on this album. I definitely think this is a pretty decent overall. I kind of like the industrial sound to it, I'm not going to lie. Next up we got is Untitled, released July 31st, 2007, with only 4 singles. Evolution, released May 17th. Hold On, released October 8th. Kiss, released April 7th, 2008. And Haze, released April 22nd, 2008. Yeah, starting with after See You on the Other Side, this is when, until throughout Korn's career, their albums have been going up and down, up and down, up and down, starting with this album. And I'm going to say with this album, it's not good. It's definitely a follow-up to See You on the Other Side, as we know. Band's first album without the drummer David Silveria, and their only album as a trio. And with temporary drummers such as Terry Bozzio, who is from the band Missing Persons. And then we got Brooks Rackerman, who is from Avenged Sevenfold, who is the current drummer from Avenged Sevenfold, and a former drummer from Bad Religion. So, yeah, this is a massive step down. It brought back Atticus Ross, who pretty much bring into the industrial sound to it. And yeah, this album is just, it's not good. It's just a huge mess of an album, to tell you the truth. It just pretty much, I mean, I kind of would give some credit with this experimental sound, but my problem is, it was written so poorly with this album. I just did not like. I just find this album just filler. It's all filler. It's nothing original. I just don't know. It just sounds more like a Marilyn Manson album, to tell you the truth. I mean, Killing has some nice death metal vocals from Jonathan Davis from the outro. That's probably the best moment from the album, but the rest is just boring, predictable, unoriginal, and it's just very, very, very bad execution throughout this album. It's just not a good album at all. It's just very messy. I think at one point the band tried to tune down. I think there were a few songs they had like 8-string guitar, and it just did not work at all with this album. It's just a huge mess of the album, which sounds like total shit, and yeah, I just did not like this album at all. I mean, yeah, there's a few songs I don't mind, like Evolution. Hold On's a decent song, and that's pretty much it. But other than that, yeah, don't bother with this album. I just think this is a pretty bad album, so I'm feeling a 1.5 out of 5 on this album. This is just really bad album. This is definitely when Korn went downhill from here, to tell you the truth. Alrighty, next up we got is Korn 3, Remember Who You Are, released July 13th, 2010, with only 2 singles released. Holiday, Leave Me Alone, released May 4th, and Let the Guilt Go, released July 26th. Now, this album this is one of those albums that does attempt to go back to their roots. And unlike Take a Look in the Mirror, this didn't work. Even though they brought back the producer Ross Robinson, who did their first 2 albums. And yeah, this album didn't quite age well, but I'll say this. I do think this album is better than their Untitled album, to tell you the truth, because this album did have some enjoyable moments here and there. I mean, I do like the song Holiday, Leave Me Alone. I did like that song. Move On is somewhat decent. Leave the Parade's good, and Let the Guilt Go, and that's just about it. But besides on that, this album, I don't know. It just sounds way too polished. And it just sounds so outdated. I mean, this is the first album with Ray Luzier, who previously did David Lee Roth's solo band and all that, and many other bands as well. But yeah, as for this album, it's just a lot of things is missing with this album. It just sounds like, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of this. It just sounds more polished production from Ross Robinson. It sounds very outdated and just not too good overall. But it's better than Untitled. I'll give it that. But yeah, other than just a few songs, this album didn't really do for me, to tell you the truth. It never had. So yeah, I'm feeling a 2 out of 5 on this album. It's just not really a good album. It's kind of bad at times, but it's not too bad. So yeah, it just sounds rushed, very polished, and the production is just so outdated. Oh, great. This album, Path of Totality, released December 6, 2011, with only 4 singles. Get Up, released May 6, Narcissistic Cannibal, released October 21st, Way Too Far, released March 6, 2012, and Chaos Lives in Everything, released March 22nd, 2012. Ugh. What the hell is this? Fucking dubstep, man. I mean, who in the right... I mean, I know Jonathan made that idea up, and it was executed poorly. What the hell are you thinking? I mean, can you save that for your what? What is your dubstep name when you did a solo career on that? What, the bitch or something? I don't know. But don't put that on your band. Like, seriously. I mean, this album is total dog shit. And I'll say this. This is Korn's worst album to date. I mean, I wouldn't say to date. It's probably going to remain as Korn's worst album. It's just a fucking total mess of an album. I mean, fucking dubstep and nu metal just do not mix at all. It just doesn't mix. Like, I don't know what the fuck they're thinking here. Yeah, it's just... I mean, I feel like it just hurts my brain. It's horrible. It's just... I don't know what they're trying to do. I mean... I appreciate Korn for trying to do something different. I'll give it that, but this is just awful. This is awful. I mean, could you save that for your, like, solo career? Like, holy shit. Oh, man, I just don't... I mean... I'm sorry for pausing. This is terrible. Oh, man, this is a huge mess of an album. And as let me know, this is the last Korn album as a quartet. Sorry, I can't pronounce right. It's just, I think listening to this album just fried my brain cells a bit. But, yeah, this is the last album without Brian Head Welch as he came back on the next album. And I'm looking forward to stop making this review because this album is total dog shit. I don't want to talk about this album ever again. I'm feeling a 0.5 out of 5. This album is just so terrible. It's an atrocious album. I'm just going to move on. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Alright, next up we got is The Paradigm Shift, which is a much better album than The Path of Shitality. Released October 7th, 2013 with three singles. Never Never released August 12th. Spike in My Veins released February 6, 2014. And Hater released June 15th, 2014. And yes, this album is definitely better than Path of Totality. I mean, yes, it did have some dubstep moments on this album, but nowhere near as much as the Path of Shitality. I mean, this album, yeah, it did have some, it did have some electronic moments, and the good thing is, this album brought back Brian Head Welch since Take a Look in the Mirror. He was absent in their last 4 albums. But besides that, is it one of Korn's best album? No. Is it one of the worst? No. But this album can be quite forgettable at times. I mean, but there is plenty of underrated songs that are quite listenable. Like, I do like the song Love and Meth. I do think that's a great song. Spike in My Veins is good. Mass Hysteria, Paranoid and Aroused, Punishment Time, Victimized. That's about it. But yeah, this album, it's alright. I mean, it's kind of maybe their most mid album because there are some songs that are quite forgettable. I do not like Never Never because it sounds like a less dubstep version of Path of Totality. And yeah, but besides all that, this album is okay. It's fine. It's a fine album. Alright? It's not terrible or anything, but it's not great either. So, I'm feeling a 2.5 out of 5 on this album. It's just, I don't think it's terrible or anything like that. It's just, I just don't think it's good. That's all. Yes, it's an improvement over their last few albums, but it's really not saying much. Alrighty, next up we got is The Serenity of Suffering, released October 21st, 2016, with 3 singles. Rotting in Vain, released July 22nd. Take Me, released November 1st. And Black is the Soul, released June 7th, 2017. And I'll say this. I think this is their strongest album since Untouchables. I think this album is a major improvement over the last couple of albums. So I definitely dug this album a whole lot. I mean, I do like the songs Insane, Rotten in Vain, Black is the Soul, The Hate, A Different World, which features Corey Taylor from Slipknot, and Stone Sour. Pretty much most of the songs. Yeah, maybe a few fillers here and there, but it's mostly enjoyable most of all. So, yeah, it lacks a lot of the dubstep elements. They pretty much threw all that away. Lyrically, it's about Jonathan's childhood, as you may know, usual. I mean, kind of predictable, but very enjoyable most of all. I definitely think this is a major step up from their previous album. I mean, it's definitely heavier than their previous album. Definitely their strongest in quite a long time. So, fun fact, Take Me was originally going to be on Jonathan Davis' solo album called Black Labyrinth, which was released on 2018, but they decided to make it a Korn track instead and release it on here. But besides all that, I do like its cover art. It kind of reminds me of Issues a bit. What I say about this album, it's a mix between Issues and Untouchables mixed in together. So, yeah, I definitely think this is a pretty enjoyable album. So, I'm feeling a 3.5 out of 5. I definitely think this is their strongest album in quite a long time. So, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty impressed by this album. That's all. Alrighty, next up we got is The Nothing, released September 13, 2019, with 4 singles released. You'll Never Find Me, released June 25th. Cold, released August 2nd. Can You Hear Me, released September 6th. And Finally Free, released October 15th, 2020. Now, I know many people think that this is Korn's strongest album in a very long time. As for me, I'm going to be honest with you. I think The Serenity of Suffering is better. And I find this album pretty overrated, to tell you the truth. Now, hold on. Before you get mad, I know why this album was made. I know this album is based on the death of Jonathan Davis's wife and his mom, because they both passed away in 2018. And this really affected him during the process of recording on this album, which he had to treat it as a form of therapy. I understand why this album was made. Lyrically, it's great how he's reflected himself. I think it was a great thing that he did that. But as for the music goes, it kind of sounds a bit cookie cutter at times, to tell you the truth. I mean, yeah, it's still, the production is still really great and all of that. And yes, I can understand this is easily this is definitely Korn's saddest albums to date. But besides all that, this album didn't do a whole lot well for me. But I'm not going to bash it or anything. I mean, I wouldn't say anything that's bad about this album. My minor complaint is it sounds way too similar to The Serenity of Suffering. That's all. They could add a lot more with this album, to tell you the truth. But yeah, I mean, I can understand with some people may have said this is their best in quite a long time. For me, not really. I mean, I can understand why. I mean, but for this album, it kind of sounds like a B-side from the Serenity of Suffering. But other than that, I do think this is a decent album overall. I mean, it's kind of... I mean, I wouldn't say it's like I wouldn't call it a step down or anything like that, since I kind of don't expect it. Yeah, I know he would break down this, which isn't the first time, and would give him credit that. I would praise him for that. But besides all that, this album, I just don't see myself returning to this album very much. But I can say this is a pretty solid album overall. So I'm feeling this a 3 out of 5 on this album. I do think this is very decent. But I do think this album is quite overrated too, to tell you the truth. I'm not saying it's a bad record or anything like that. I just rather listen to other Korn albums than this, to tell you the truth. And this is definitely not one of them that I would pick. That's all. Alrighty, now next up is their recent album, Requiem, released February 4th, 2022, with only 4 singles. Start the Healing, released November 11th, 2021. Forgotten, released January 13th, 2022. Lost in the Grandeur, released February 2nd. And Worst is on His Way, released April 12th. Now, I did a review back in 2022 on my re-rank. And as I may know, I was pretty harsh on this album, because I didn't like how it turned out with this album, with this overproduced, and how soft Jonathan was compared to Korn's other materials. But then, compared to me 2 years later, I kind of feel like it's a step down from their previous albums, but to be honest with you, this album is fine. Yes, I said it. It's an alright album. I'll admit, I was too harsh on this review back in 2022, okay? I'll admit, I was really harsh on this album. I was very disappointed when I listened to this album back in 2022, okay? You got me. But with this album, it did kind of worked on some point. The reason why I just didn't like this album at first is because it was way too overproduced. It lacked a lot of energy in this album, but in some ways it did sort of work with this album. And the main reason why I don't like this album that much is mainly because it's too short. This album is 32 minutes. It's their shortest album, by the way. Most of their Korn albums like 40 minutes. This album is 32 minutes. Their longest album by Korn is Follow the Leader, which I think it's 70 minutes, which is over an hour. An hour and 10 minutes. But yeah, and as for the songs on this album, it's actually decent. I'm not gonna lie. It's actually enjoyable in some cases. I do dig the song Forgotten. I do like this song a whole lot. And I did like the song Lost in a Grandeur, which it did have a gent sound to it with this album. I kind of like this gent sound to it. Start the Healing is actually quite the banger, and Let the Dark Do the Rest is solid. And Worst is on Its Way, which is pretty a decent track, and that's kind of it, to tell you the truth. I mean, yeah, this album is nowhere near as good as The Serenity of Suffering and The Nothing, but it is, I kind of say it is kind of a different sound compared to it, because it lacked a lot of energy. But then some cases, as with the song goes out, it's fine. Okay? I'll admit, I did overreacted with this album. I'll admit, I did overreacted. But, the album is still not fantastic or anything. It's not a masterpiece. It's nowhere near their best. And I'm going to be honest with you, I now think this is Korn's most mid album to date. So, I'm feeling a 2.5 out of 5 on this album. I definitely don't hate this album as much as I did back in 2022, but the album is still not great. I can say this album is better than their Untitled, Korn 3, Path of Totality. I even think this album is better than Take a Look in the Mirror and The Paradigm Shift. This is kind of a bit closer to a 3 out of 5, but it's 2.5 out of 5, mainly because the album is way too short, that's all. So, yeah, I'll just give it that. I definitely don't hate this album as much as I did back in 2022. Alright, guys, so yeah, that is my reviewing every Korn album, so I hope you guys enjoy it. And yeah, guys, I don't know what's next, so I might go back to the classic metal roots. I was gonna do Judas Priest, but since I did a re-rank on them a few months ago, I'm gonna go ahead and wait a couple of more months. So yeah, I know I should probably do Judas Priest, but I did a re-rank on them not too long ago, so I feel like it's just way too soon for that right now. But I'll think of something at the moment. I might do thrash, like probably Megadeth or Slayer or something like that. So yeah, guys, that's pretty much it for the video for now. So I'm going to go ahead and get the fuck out of here. So I'm out.